and welcome to a special mini-series of the Nameless Podcast. My name's TJ, and this mini-series is going to be called The Curtains Are Blue. Today, we're going to be reviewing a movie that's been out for a little while now, but, if you haven't seen it yet, maybe we'll be changing your mind on that. We're going to be reviewing The Jungle Book, and with this series, we're going to be reviewing a lot of movies and hopefully taking a closer look at them and giving you a fresh perspective on things. Myself, I come from a film background. I work in film out in New York City, and I went to film school, whatever that means to you, whatever credibility that gets me. And I am joined today by a very special guest, my close friend, Carly Gombert. Say hello, Carly.
Hi, guys. I'm Carly. I come from a media and communications background. I studied journalism and English. So I'm going to be offering kind of a more analytical literary perspective, like taking apart a story, seeing how it affects the audience, the characters, and how it communicates a larger message to society as a whole. But also, we want to keep it fun at the same time. So put on your fun hats. I'm excited.
Carly, would it be safe to tell our viewers that I know more than you do on movies?
I would say begrudgingly, I don't like to admit that TJ knows anything more than I do on a
Just
lot
answer
of
the question, Carly. Just answer the question.
Yes, Your Honor. Okay. Yes, I would say that TJ has a vast array of film and production knowledge.
No, we're done here. I'm going to wrap it up. Great. Cool. Thank you, Carly.
TJ's going to put that in his trophy case. He's done. He's like, all right.
We're not actually doing a movie review today, guys. But thank you for listening. Carly, thank you for the lovely comment.
You're welcome.
All right.
You're welcome.
All right. So
I'm so glad I could give you this gift, Thomas.
It's the greatest gift of all. It's better than Christmas. Okay, so we're doing The Jungle Book. There's a lot of ground to cover with a movie like this. So I would say let's cover kind of our initial gut reaction to the film. I'll start by saying that I thought it was a very an enjoyable movie. It was entertaining in a lot of different ways, but I wouldn't call it outstanding. Right now it sits at around a 95, 96 something % on Rotten Tomatoes. And, with a rating like that, I would have expected a lot more. I would have expected to just be blown out of the water just with how emotionally enriching and entertaining and fun a movie like this could be. But I wouldn't hold it to that kind of expectation. Maybe my expectations were set too high given the critical feedback that it's been getting, and maybe that threw me off. But nonetheless, I would walk away recommending it easily, but I wouldn't go crazy in saying it's a must-see. So those are just my general thoughts. Carly, maybe you could give yours.
Well, do you think that 95% rating came from a critic who was also looking at the story and watching the movie with a touch of nostalgia affecting his judgment? Someone who had seen the animated version and could connect that with the remake.
No, the thing with Rotten Tomatoes is that it's an average of every critic online. It's taking all the reviews that have come out for the movie.
Well, but think about the age group. Sure, but think about the age group of the people that are reviewing and posting reviews online right now. They're going to be people that have had the opportunity to see the original version and compare it to the new version versus just seeing this flat out as a singular movie by itself. So I think you kind of have to take that into account when you're looking at who's reviewing it and why they're reviewing it that way.
So you think there's a level of kind of nostalgia going on when it comes to looking at this movie with a less subjective point of view?
Well, absolutely. Just because, when I watched it, I was able to draw a lot of things from the animated version, a lot of changes that were made that affected it in a positive way, but also some things that were a little bit not as strong, and then also drawing a lot of things from the book as well, and to see both of those merge into a collective new form of a movie, almost a more enriching message as a whole than the original animated version. I thought it was a vast improvement. So, I mean, from that perspective, I would definitely rate it highly. But if that was my first experience with The Jungle Book as a movie, I could definitely see where you would not score it highly.
So I would say that would probably be a distinguishing factor between your point of view and mine. Let me ask: when was the last time you watched the original film, and when was the last time you read the original book as well?
I read the book in high school, but I recently read the Just So stories, which is like an addendum to The Jungle Book. And some of the parts from those stories are actually in the movie now.
Oh.
I just reread that a few weeks ago, but and I watched the animated version, I think, back in high school as well. So it's been a while for both of those, but I just reread the collection of short stories, a lot of which is in this new movie, which I thought was really cool. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. That's definitely a different perspective, I guess, than you would have going just with, like, when was the last time that you saw the animated version?
Yeah, I mean, I've never touched the book. I'm definitely not familiar with that material. And as far as the animated movie, I haven't seen it since I was, like, just a kid, really young. I can't remember the last time I've seen the original animated, but, I remember it well enough to have a certain reference point. It's not one of the bigger films of my childhood. It's not one of those that I lean back on and is like, oh man, The Jungle Book, let's pop it in and, get nostalgic. It's like, okay, yeah, that was a good movie when I was a kid. That's one of the classics. Sure, I respect it. But it's not one of my favorites. So I can see kind of a level of bias with my opinion on that point of view. But that being established, let's move forward. And I'll ask, let's see. What did you think of? Give me more of your thoughts. I feel like so you feel that it was a superior narrative from the previous renditions of this story. That's what it sounds like. What you're saying here.
One of the biggest things that I drew from it was that I thought this version of The Jungle Book was a much better story and provided a lot more character development that was much more relatable to a younger audience than the first one did, like the animated version from forever ago. We actually looked it up earlier, and the first one was produced in 1967, which was 49 years ago, so it's been a while. So I just, something that I picked up on was that I think the live action factor, and the fact that the narrator, like the kid that plays Mowgli, he doesn't deliver his lines super great. He's not like the best little actor there ever was, and he kind of stumbles through everything. But when you're a kid and you're watching this movie, you're not gonna notice that. It doesn't matter to you. But what you are gonna notice is like the representation of his growth and his strength, and you're gonna be able to relate to his experiences on a level that the animated movie is kind of fun, and there's songs and dancing, and the vultures look like the Beatles, and it's cute, but it's just like a cute little movie. But this, I feel, is a much more immersive experience.
Yeah, I would agree with that a lot, actually. I think one of the takeaways, I remember one of the bigger things I walked away with for the movie when I finished in the theater was that it had kind of this moral lesson of, like, confronting your fears and, taking responsibility and helping other people, and just kind of that kind of more generic, do the right thing moral lesson. And me and my friends were talking about how we can't forget that it is a kids' movie. And while we as adults, I'm 23. And, that's a lesson I already know. I already know that lesson. I don't need to be taught it. But this is a PG movie, so any kid going into it and watching it, is probably going to have a bigger takeaway from that kind of lesson than I am. So I can respect that a lot. And going back to what you were saying about the animated film as well, the new film definitely takes a bigger stride as far as teaching the kids something, because the animated film is much more of a what I would call like a tumbleweed kind of movie. I would refer to like The Big Lebowski, where it's not so much about a overall narrative story that's like following specific themes and an overarching character change and these big moral lessons and stuff like that. A movie like The Big Lebowski is just about this dude who kind of keeps falling into these situations by accident, and crazy things happen, and it's fun and entertaining to watch, you know. So I would say the Jungle Book, the original Jungle Book, does that as well, where it's like, oh, there's singing songs, and yeah, there's a story, kinda, but it's more about, you know, his experiences going from A to B, as opposed to just getting to B. Mm-hmm. And I would argue that, you know, this new film does that a little bit, but not as heavily, and it does benefit from that a lot.
Something that I really noticed, like a drastic change between the two films, was the vilification of King Louie. Mm-hmm. In the first movie, King Louie is like this kind of drunk orangutan. Like, he's just kind of like chilling out in his palace with all the other monkeys, and he tries to get Mowgli to stay with him, and it's like this funny scene, and it's very slapstick comedy vaudeville. In the new movie, King Louie is like, you don't even meet him. There's this huge suspenseful like build-up where they're dragging Mowgli into this dark temple, and there's this, all you see is like a giant arm. Like, he's literally as large as the building. They took him and personified intimidation and dictatorship and fear into a huge, like, anatomically correct male orangutan with a big ugly face and the really freaky like nipples. Just everything about it is terrifying.
Yeah.
And they're not messing around, and it's very clear from point A to point B that this is not a friendly, I want to be your buddy. This is a scary adult whose car you don't get in when he offers you a ride home. Like, it was such a drastic difference. Shere Khan, too. He was bad in the animated movie, but, like, the amount of gore or implied gore in this film was definitely a lot higher.
Much
so
more
I think
ruthless,
the villains were definitely amplified to an extreme level. Even man was vilified in a way, much more than in the first film. Mm-hmm. So I think that was definitely something that added to the overall experience of the film as a whole.
Did you notice the cowbell before King Louie showed up?
Say that again?
The cowbell.
Oh, when he just picks it up and he's like shaking it around. Oh, because it's Christopher Walken.
I explained that to my friends.
That's so funny.
They also said it went right over their heads. I was laughing my ass off when I saw that cowbell. I'm like, oh my god, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
That's so funny. I didn't even put that together. That's really funny. How clever.
So there you go.
Babies. Let me tell you something about the Jungle Book. Oh my god.
Let me tell you, fellas, by the end of this movie, you're going to be wearing gold-plated diapers.
Oh my gosh.
What does that
I was trying to guess all the voice actors before the end of the film. I did guess King Louie successfully.
Wait. But have you not seen like a trailer that like advertises who everybody is?
No, I haven't. I went into the movie knowing that it was a remake of The Jungle Book, but I hadn't seen a trailer for it. I hadn't seen any interviews. Oh, wow. I went in just knowing like that it was a movie and I was going to see it. So I went in pretty void of any influence.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's pretty interesting.
No, but I wanted to talk about that a little bit because when in the first movie, Kaa is like Shere Khan's assistant, or so they say. And in this movie, not only is Kaa a woman or given a woman's voice, but like it's a very different type of Kaa than it was in the first one. The first one, Kaa's like, he tangles himself in a knot and he like hypnotizes you with these really spinny kaleidoscope eyes, but it's like comical in a way, and he doesn't really seem that threatening. He just seems like he's going to give you a really tight hug and you're going to fall asleep. Like in this movie, Kaa is like a seductress with this 8-year-old boy creeping around in the woods at night. Like it let's talk about that, TJ. What were your impressions of that scene?
What, the costume with the snake?
With Scarlett Johansson as Kaa, creeping all up on Mowgli, doing her thing, hypnotizing him.
know. I don't know what my takeaway from that scene is, because a small part of me wants to say that it felt kind of shoehorned in.
Like forced almost? Yeah. Like her dialogue wasn't genuine?
I don't know, because...
I didn't believe her narrative at all. Like her narration, I didn't believe it the way she was talking.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like that scene wasn't all that important. It wasn't I didn't find it all that entertaining or vital to the story. It was just kind of like a sidestep. It's like, oh, hey, we're doing the snake scene real quick, and then we're gonna move on to the, like, it could have just as easily have been he runs into Baloo and they get on their merry way and figure out. Like, you feel like it didn't develop his character in any way? Like, it was very inconsequential? It was inconsequential. I suppose that's the word I'm reaching for here. It didn't, yeah. Like, I understand, like, as far as the movie's perspective of, like, hey, we need this scene, and, you know, I got to give it the credit of, you know, it does convince Baloo to help, or Mowgli help Baloo, because it's like, hey, you owe me, kid, I saved your life, kind of thing. So I get that from a plot perspective, but I feel like it could have easily just been worked around other ways. That being said, you know, they do need that scene in there. I don't know, something about it it felt inconsequential. Do you think if they would have used a different actor or actress, even voice wise, do you think that would have? Because I think if they would have chosen a different person, male or female, to do the voice, it would have made a world of difference. I really think that her performance is what makes the scene so awkward. Oh. And, because, I mean, Baloo gets Mowgli, and, like, he has the conversation with the other animals that come up saying, like, they come up and they say, oh, you have another one, and they all think that Mowgli's a monkey, implying that, like, Baloo kind of stakes out by Kaa's lair and, you know, chomps on him every time he tries to get a monkey, saves the monkey's life, calls in a favor. Mm-hmm. So I understand, like, why the scene is important, but I think that the performance, the individual that performed that very minor scene, like, Scarlett Johansson is not a voice actress, which I guess could be debated because of her performance in Her. But yeah. I don't think that, maybe she's just not meant for children's movies. Maybe her voice is, like, too sensual, just naturally sensual to be believable as a villain that's not sexually motivated, which I feel sad to say. I feel like I'm kind of stepping on a sensitive line there. But no, I feel that's a valid point. Like, we associate a lot of things with a voice like that, you know, this very kind of
in the dark jungle,
luring you in, female, sexy voice kind of thing. And it's Scarlett Johansson. We can't not associate kind of a sexiness to her voice. That's just kind of her thing, you know? So I would probably say us as adults, you know, are kind of screwed in that sense. So maybe it works better for kids. And I hate to say stuff like that, because then it becomes this point of, like, well, you know, it's allowed to do stupid, dumb things because it's just kids watching it. You know, of course the adults aren't going to get it. You know, that's the excuse some stupid movies like to make, because it's like, oh, well, it's for the kids. You know, it's like, no. So, but I understand what you're saying with all that. Let's.
You know who would have been a really good actor for that?
Yeah. Who do you think?
Alan Rickman, R.I.P. Alan Rickman. But if Alan Rickman was the voice of Kaa,
well,
sold, done so, perfect.
Alan Rickman already did the voice of the caterpillar in Alice in Wonderland, so I don't know if we're treading too much ground there with that one. You know,
why can't he be both?
I don't know. It's like, let someone else have a shot at it. I don't know.
Okay, so what do you recommend, Thomas? Who's your recommendation?
Charlie Day. He'd be perfect.
As Kaa? Oh, that would be really funny, actually.
Well, he kind of fits the cartoon, the more cartoon voice. The cartoon
much better. And it'd be like, stay away from the weird drunk guys on the street, Mowgli.
I was trying to make a joke, but I actually kind of made a decent suggestion.
Yeah, actually you did. Well done there. Good job. 10 out of 10 for you, buddy. Well done.
I'd like to talk briefly about... okay, cool. I was about to talk about one thing, but let's talk about this instead. Since we're already talking about Scarlett Johansson's voice acting and who we would pick to replace her, let's talk about the rest of the voice acting as far as every other character. Is there anyone that stood out to you as particularly strong? Was everybody good? Was anybody else weak, besides Scarlett?
Oh, Bagheera was on point. Yes. I thought Bagheera was perfect.
Perfect, absolutely.
Absolutely. And Christopher Walken as King Louie was really well done.
What did you think of his brief moment of singing? I felt that was a little out of place, I
think that they were trying to weave the songs in. I thought they did a good job bringing all the songs in a little bit. It was like a little forced sometimes, like when Baloo was just spontaneously humming and singing and stuff, but I don't know. I enjoyed it. I let it happen because I expected it from the animated movie.
Yeah.
So I think I was a little more open to it.
Okay. So yeah, but Bagheera, he was great. That's Ben Kingsland? Is that Kingsley?
No, I thought it was Idris Elba did Bagheera.
No, wait, are we talking about the tiger?
He was Shere Khan?
Shere Khan, yeah.
Wasn't he? He was Shere Khan, okay.
Idris Elba was Shere Khan, and oh my god, his voice is so perfect and intimidating and terrifying for that character. Good lord, that's good casting. And
I agree.
What do you think?
It would have been funny if Shere Khan was Sean Connery, I think.
That would have been more funny than intimidating. I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely. It would have been a lot lighter, but it'd be really funny.
What do you think of Bill Murray as Baloo?
I guessed him before the end of the movie. I thought it was really good. I liked it a lot. I think he's the perfect, because when he was in Zombieland, I know this is kind of a bizarre comparison, but when he was in Zombieland, he was kind of the same way, funny and light, but also really dark and ready to get serious at the same time.
Yeah.
And I thought he played that really well for Baloo. He's light and funny and kind of like your dad, but kind of not. And still, yeah, he's like the deadbeat fun dad. Right. So I don't know. I thought he played it really well. I thought it was well done.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
What did you think about the kid that played Mowgli? How did you view his performance? What were your thoughts on it?
I thought he did really well for a child actor, and I hate to say it in that way, but that's just kind of what we're dealing with here. That's the cards we've been dealt. And I think he did fine. Obviously, there are moments where it's there's limitations. He's on a green screen talking to fucking stuffed animals on a stage in Los Angeles, kind of thing. And as a kid, he's got to put a lot of effort into selling us on the idea that he's talking to these things and that the world is real. And that being said, I feel like he achieved that to an impressive degree, for someone his age. So I would give him credit where credit's due. That, but I can only push that so far. He didn't do a perfect job because he does have that limitation, and it's not going to be perfect, So, but I don't know. It's hard to judge kids so harshly. You kind of feel bad about it, So I guess those are my thoughts. You didn't sound too impressed when you were talking about him earlier.
No, it's not that I'm not impressed because, like I said, I thought I think they might have made a casting decision to choose a child that was more relatable and less a performer. Because it might have been more essentials of the story and the way that it was communicated. I thought that his literal childishness, his just brash, genuine kind of performance, he wasn't really trying to fabricate too much of anything. He was just kind of saying his lines. But the thing about that is that makes him just like a normal kid. They're not looking at, he's not... I thought that the opening sequence where the first 30 seconds of the movie where he's like running through the forest was really bad.
Oh.
Because it was the opening shot of the movie and I was watching it and I was like, oh man, I hope that all of the fast running and the fast movements for the rest of the movie aren't going to be this like poorly done. Like it was like watching a PowerPoint slide, like whoosh. It was like every time he did something, there was the noise after and the little white lines right behind him. And it was like, I didn't know if they were trying to make like a joke or trying to like make it overly special effecty on purpose. Like I wasn't sure what was going on. It calmed down later on in the movie, but the opening sequence was just so corny that maybe it just sort of crucified the performance for me, like, for the rest of the movie. I don't know.
Okay. So while we're on kind of that special effects note, in a sense, I would say that one of the key reasons to see this film, if you're not a child, I suppose, if you don't have children, is the visuals. Like, holy shit.
It was really good.
This movie has incredible visuals. A lot of, like, really nice swooping wide shots of, like, the jungle. And here's a question. What format did you see this film in? I saw it in Dolby Digital 3D, which is actually what the director recommended you see it in. So I was able to get my hands on tickets for that. And that was a really great way to see it. How did you see it?
I saw it in, I think it wasn't 3D, but I believe it was in IMAX.
Oh, IMAX. Okay, cool. So, I mean, that must have been nice. I mean, I didn't have like an IMAX screen. I just had a regular screen with a 3D.
Maybe that opening sequence that I spoke of a few minutes ago was intended, maybe that's a 3D sequence. Do you remember it being a sequence?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, early on in a movie, when you're watching it in 3D, your eyes are like adjusting. You know, you're trying to get fully focused into the 3D nature of what's going on. And with the shots like that are like doing these dollies and pans and there's a lot of movement kind of thing, it can be hard for your eyes to kind of fully focus in and adjust nicely to the image. So, I don't know, that was a bit of a disadvantage early on for those first few scenes. And then it was fine moving forward. So, you know, with this Dolby Digital, you know, for anyone out there listening, if we do have any listeners, I would highly recommend seeing it in this format if you get the chance. Dolby Digital 3D, because the image was very crisp and clear and clean. And even when you're like watching it in 3D, the image quality is fine because, like, you know, like when you put on your 3D glasses, the screen gets a little darker. They kind of correct that. They make the screen a little brighter so that the glasses balance it out, which was really nice. You know, that's a nice thing to add in. So, yeah, visually, that all worked great for me. I got to see it in a really nice format. The image was very, very nice, nice fit for this Dolby Digital 3D. And you get these great landscapes. The CGI is just top-notch. This is probably the best CGI I've ever seen in anything ever, to be honest. It's pretty goddamn impressive.
Okay.
What do you think? What do you think of the CGI and the visuals?
I don't have much of a reference point for that, so if I can speak in layman's terms.
Sure. For the layman, everyone.
For the people who have
for the layman.
An understanding of minimal CGI stuff. I thought that the movie was really well done. I was worried how they were going to do the talking animals because I was worried it was going to look like, you know, the Country Bears movie? I was really worried it was going to be like the Country Bears movie. I was really worried that it was going to be like how at Disneyland you go to meet your favorite characters, but they're all really terrifying, like plush giant monsters, and their eyes are always off center.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was worried it was going to be like that, but it wasn't at all. It was really well done. It wasn't cheesy. I think it'll hold up over time too.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I thought Shere Khan like the way that they rippled his facial muscles and like his neck, and they did so much detail with the scar from the fire burn on his face. Thought that was a really great asset to his character, because in the first one, his face isn't burned. And again, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about how strong the villain characters were. I thought that the CGI and the amount of just like visual effects that were happening, like how well that they were done, really contributed to how well the evil of these characters was perceived. Because you see like Shere Khan's face, you see how muscular and thick his jaw is, how thick his body is as he moves. You see the sheer mass of Louie, this huge orangutan, and then you watch him like crawl and scrape through this castle and literally topple it with his mass. And that scene was so pivotal. It was so well done. It wasn't like King Kong on top of a tower with a radio-controlled airplane like flying around. It was really well done.
Yeah.
And I think it'll hold up for a while, the same way kind of how Jurassic Park holds up. Yeah. I think this will be similar. Yeah.
Good comparison. Okay, so I want to get into spoiler territory. So anyone listening that hasn't seen the movie and doesn't want it spoiled, you can skip ahead to the end. There's something that really bothered me at the very end of the movie. It's the climax, and stop me if you don't know what I'm talking about. Let's see. What is oh fuck me. The bad guy, Shere Khan. What's he doing kind of at the end of the movie before he confronts Mowgli at the water hole? He's like messing around with the wolf family, right?
Yeah, he's like messing around with the cubs, like showing the mom that he's dominant and he can kill them whenever he wants, basically.
And then Mowgli decides to run and grab the fire from the village and then bring it over to the watering hole to try and defeat Shere Khan. So he carries this fire through the jungle, and then when he gets to the watering hole and confronts Shere Khan and like all the other animals are there, Shere Khan's like, "Well, looks like I was right all along. Look what man has brought us." And they turn around, and Mowgli like dropped the fire throughout like the entire jungle, and the jungle is in flames. He ended up being right after all. Like, man showed up and fucking burned half the jungle down. Now,
yeah.
I get it that, like, okay, so the animals work together to move the water flow and put out the fire. Great, all well, hunky-dory. But, Jesus, that bugged the crap out of me. That Mowgli ran around through the jungle with this fire and just lit everything aflame.
It was so irresponsible, yeah. I'm glad you brought this up, because I wanted to speak to this. This was a point I wanted to bring up, so I'm actually really glad that you had something to say about it. But go ahead, go ahead.
No, I mean, that's my point, basically, yeah.
Okay. I saw this scene, actually, what I drew from it was I felt like when I first saw it, I too was slightly irritated, because I was like, I think this is like not where we were supposed to be going with the story here. Yeah. And I too, like, I understand what you're saying and I can see where you're coming from, but something that I sort of gleaned from it, when I watched them pouring the water over everywhere, it kind of reminded me of like Noah's flood, like the biblical story of Noah and God flooding the earth to start it over again. I was like, well, that doesn't really work here because they already burned it down first. But I was thinking that maybe here you kind of see, yes, Mowgli ran to the man village and took the red flower and brought it into the jungle and burned down the jungle and burned down everything. And he was an outcast, and all the animals pushed him out because of him, and he's different. And he brings back this fire to defeat Shere Khan, and he destroys their home in the process. Mowgli basically vilifies himself, but in the end, regardless of the fact that he knows that the village is going to reject him and he's already like hated by his family, he's still, regardless of all of this, of all the destruction he causes, in the wake of this, he still defeats Shere Khan. And then though the entire jungle's like burned down, it's also reborn. A new era is started. It's a symbol of rebirth, a symbol of beginning. Like, everything was burned down. There was so much destruction. But as part of that destruction, Shere Khan, this major villain and point of distress and horrible, horrible pain, is destroyed. And with that, the water washes over everything, like cleansing everything and bringing forth a new era where Shere Khan is no longer there. They can start rebuilding a new home where they don't live in fear any longer. Mowgli's brought into the pack. He's returned and forgiven as the prodigal son, part of the family unit. It's like the birth of a completely new governmental system, a new belief system.
Of a nation, if you will.
Yeah, so I saw it more of as like an overarching theme, but I can understand if you're looking at it if you're looking at it like the curtains are blue, there's no meaning to it. The curtains are just blue. Mowgli's a dumb kid, and he ran with fire irresponsibly through the jungle and burned it down like a little bitch. Then yes, it's an annoying point. It's annoying because like, why are you doing this? I thought this movie was to help kids be better kids, and you're teaching them to be dumb and irresponsible. So if you're looking at it like the curtains are blue, it's definitely like something under your fingernail. It doesn't fit, you know. But if you look at it, I think with a little bit more of an involved perspective, it's an important point in the book.
Yeah.
So looking at it from that way, it didn't bother me as much.
Okay, I can respect that. I can understand that a lot.
That was kind of a long explanation, so I appreciate your patience listening through that. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's what I got you here for, Carly.
Thank you.
So, wrapping up, let's draw our conclusions here. I would say, we should come up with a rating system. What do you think would be a good rating system? You want to do like 1 through 10, or like stars, like 5 stars?
Can we theme it to the movie? I would like to rate The Jungle Book on a scale of, let's see, can we rate it in different categories? Can we rate it for like overall? Can we rate it for, I don't know. We should think of some categories.
Well, geez, that seems like a lot. We got to simplify, man.
Sorry, man.
People just want the knee jerk.
The
bare necessities, man, exactly. You know, that's what the people want. Right. People just want a quick, snappy...
1 out of 5 bananas. 1 out of 5 bananas. I give The Jungle Book, I give it...
Let's do 1 through 10.
1 through 10 bananas?
I struggle with the 5-star system.
All right, 1 through 10 bananas. I give it a 7.5.
A 7.5 out of 10 bananas?
Yes. Out of 10 bananas, I give it a strong 7.5.
7 bananas and one of those little baby bananas.
Yes.
Wherever you can get those. I would give it I'd give it a 7. I'd give it an even 7 bananas out of 10 bananas.
Just for the fire scene?
Well, no, I mean, my takeaway seems to be a little more, a little more monotone, a little more flatlined from your perspective, because you saw a lot of like bigger improvements from more of the original source material than I did, and I just saw a movie for kind of what it is. So and it's important to remember, it's for kids and all that jazz. So I would say, it's great. It's a good movie for kids. I think children would love it. There's a lot to enjoy. There's a good lesson involved. And it's a fun, entertaining movie. It's not anything too sophisticated, but it doesn't really need to be, So there you go. That's my review.
Okay.
All
right, good. Well, thanks, guys.
Hello.
Go ahead, TJ. What were you saying?
I was going to ask you if you had any final thoughts, but you were just.
I was going to say we should talk about what movie should we. I think next time I picked The Jungle Book, so TJ is going to pick our next movie.
Oh,
we're not sure what that's going to be, but TJ is going to be in charge of picking the next movie that we're going to go see together.
Oh.
And then we'll have another podcast for you guys.
Oh my god! I'm so happy.
The Money Monster looked pretty good, so I'm hoping that maybe that's one of the contenders for your choice, sir.
The Lobster.
So, what is The Lobster? Oh no, guys!
I might pick The Lobster. It's a movie about. Oh man, a guy goes to. Man, I can't. It's
is
kind
it
of
like the Beaver? Does he have like a lobster hand puppet to help him through his divorce?
No. Here's the synopsis, real quick. Okay. Colin Farrell stars as David, a man who has just been dumped by his wife. To make matters worse, David lives in a society where single people have 45 days to find true love, or else they are turned into an animal of their choice and released into the woods. So it's like an indie romance comedy, dark comedy. And it looks really good. I've heard a lot of good things already about it, and I want to see it.
TJ, that description did not do anything for me. That absolutely did not make me feel better about this crustacean movie. I'm not excited.
Okay, well, maybe if you watch a trailer.
All right, guys, I'm going to go see Crabs, the movie, and I'll let you know how it is in our next review.
Well, I'll keep thinking of. I'll look around. Have you seen the trailers for The Green Room? I really want to see that.
Oh, I think I saw it. Yeah. We should do a trailer binge tonight and pick a movie. So we'll do that.
Yes.
But thanks, guys, for tuning in and listening. And if you have some thoughts about what we said or anything, definitely leave them in the comments below. And because we'd love to, talk more. But
yes. Thank you. Thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, this is obviously very new and experimental. The channel is new. Me and some of our me and the other guys have been recording for a couple of years now, just for fun and shits and giggles. But now I'm trying to kind of legitimize it a little better these days. And Carly and I wanted to throw in a little mini mix of movie reviews just to get a little flavor going. So thank you very much for listening. If you've tagged along for the ride, we look forward to doing more of these. Dungeons and Dragons podcast. Dungeons and Dragons episode 2 should be up within the next week, I hope. So if you're a fan of that, I'm hoping to get it up soon. And we will see you all.
We'll be back on episode 2 of The Curtains Are Blue. What's behind curtain number 1? Hopefully not a lobster.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
The end. We did it. Hooray.